Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Self-Powered Podcast. I'm your host Mandy, and today we're talking about shifting from external validation to internal validation, meaning that your sense of accomplishment and self-worth come primarily from your own opinion of yourself rather than the opinion of others. And before we dive in, I want to make something clear. I don't believe we ever reach a point where we completely stop caring about what others think. And honestly, that's not something we should even strive for. I mean, if we had zero regard for other people's opinions, we'd probably end up being pretty crappy members of society, and we'd behave in ways that are inconsiderate or even harmful. And besides that, it also takes away a great opportunity for growth, because if we're able to take feedback in a constructive way, there's a lot of value in it to show us where we need to or where we can improve. So I always love getting feedback. Okay, that might not be completely true. I won't say I'll always love it, because sometimes it's negative and then I have to deal with it. But at least it shows me where I'm doing well and where I could do better. And as long as I use it to do better, then it really can't hurt me, not that much. Now, that being said, many of us rely too heavily on external validation, so seeking approval from others to feel successful, worthy, or confident. Now, my goal with this episode isn't to encourage you to shut out all external feedback, but it's rather to help you shift the balance. So instead of always seeking validation from others, the majority of your self-worth should come from within. Without any further delay, let's get right into it. In my experience, there are three major building blocks that will help you to shift from external to internal validation. And the first big building block of self-validation is self-trust, aka self-respect. And the best way I have found to build that is through making your word your law. Self-trust is built by honoring your commitments to yourself, which means never making promises to yourself that you don't intend to keep. Instead, make fewer promises, but make sure that when you do, you follow through every single time, or most of the times. Now, this will take time and practice, by the way, and you will fall off the horse many times. I mean, most of us don't care too much if we don't follow through on little things that we told ourselves we would do, because frankly, they don't have that much effect externally, and also no one else knows that we didn't do them, right? But these little cuts, although not deadly, hurt and leave a lot of scars that break down our confidence in ourselves over time. So because we got into the habit of letting it slip so many times, it will take a while to recondition your thinking and your actions. Now, the mantra that I've been practicing living by is "my word is my law." And just to clarify, I mean this in relation to myself and not my relationships. It's not like I'm trying to bend every event in my life according to my will. When I say my word is my law, it means how seriously I take my own word. If I tell myself I'm going to do something, I really do my utmost to keep that promise. For example, if I'm out running and I decide I'm going to do 2 more laps, then even if I feel like I've done enough after one and I could just as well go home now, I tell myself, nope. My word is my law. I have no other option but to finish another one. Or if I say I'm going to do the dishes before going to bed, no matter how sleepy I am after watching the latest true crime on Netflix, I still remind myself about my words and I do it. So if I didn't want to do the dishes, next time I must just be mindful to not tell myself that I'm going to do them. Make sense? So the practice is not about becoming your own dictator. It's about being more intentional and trustworthy in your promises and your words to yourself. If you had to treat your own promises as though you were making them to a close friend or someone you deeply respect, you'd think carefully before making them and really consider if you were going to follow through. Now, extend that same respect to yourself. This simple shift builds trust in yourself and it strengthens your sense of self-respect. And the more you respect yourself, the more you will naturally start to value your own opinion more, because we usually value the opinion of those we respect, right? Now, let's get to building block number 2. I've said it before on this podcast, and I'm gonna say it again. Work in the shadows. Now, I don't mean hide away from the world. Obviously, I'm sitting in front of the camera right now, putting my thoughts out for everyone to hear. What I mean is always have a goal that no one or very few people know about. Now, this won't work with all your goals because, of course, there'll be times where you need to share them. Maybe for accountability, or because they directly involve someone else, or just because you need others to support you in it or teach you and guide you through it. But having at least some goals that are just for you is so powerful. Why? Because when you make progress, you are the only one who can validate it. There's no external applause, no social media praise, just you recognizing and respecting and admiring your own effort. Now, this also forces you to get clear about what actually makes you proud, right? Because there's no one else around to see it. So it's really about what is going to make you feel good about yourself. And in doing so, you gain insight into what truly matters to you and not what impresses others or what society expects from you. You really get to focus on what you value. And this is extremely valuable because it not only promotes internal validation, but it will also give you amazing clues as to what is actually really important to you. And that might just have the very handy side effect that you start living a life in accordance with your own values instead of the values of others. Bit of a buy one, get one free special going here. So the second building block, work in the shadows. Third building block, and this is such an important one. Measure your progress by your own standards. Stop measuring success by how you think others perceive your progress. And I say think because often we actually don't know. We just take a guess, and usually we're not very nice to ourselves when it comes to that. So you rather want to set your own milestones with clear intention. And what I mean by that is you don't base your success at various steps on the feedback from others, unless that's intentionally part of your plan, and I'll explain exactly what I mean by that in just a moment. But you really want success to come from the intention you set for yourself and what you personally want to achieve on your journey. Let me give you an example of this. When I first started speaking in front of people, it was at a networking event where we had to pitch our business for, I think, 30 seconds or a minute or something like that. By the way, I was super nervous about it. I was shaking all the way on the drive there. But what I was really clear on is specifically what a successful pitch would look like for me. And my definition of success had nothing to do with how well I performed or how others perceived me. It was simply about having the courage to stand up and speak, no matter how it went. I told myself, if I stand up and talk today, I can consider it a great success. That was my only goal. Now, after I accomplished that, the next time I set a slightly different goal. But still, it had nothing to do with how I was being perceived. My goal was to, instead of fixating on the one person in the audience who seemed friendly, I wanted to look around the room and engage with more people. Now, I remember not getting it right the first time, so that remained my goal for the next meeting as well. And I kept working at it until I succeeded. And then I moved my personal goal post again. Now, I can't even remember what the next goal was. Probably something like I wanted to speak naturally without memorizing every word like a parrot. But that's not the point. The point is, each time I redefine success for myself. without regarding how it is being perceived by others. I set my own targets and work towards them without relying on external validation. And that way I was in control of my own success. Now, of course, at a later stage, feedback can become helpful, but only when used intentionally. When you ask for feedback, it should be with the goal of identifying what to improve next, and not as a measure of your worth or ability. That way, you remain in control because you're using the feedback constructively rather than allowing it to dictate your confidence. So, for example, when I facilitate workshops, I always ask participants to fill out a feedback form with very specific questions. For example, how was the communication prior to the workshop? How was the venue? How was it presented? Were the exercises related to real life experiences? And then I ask how I can improve if they rated me low. Now that data, while honestly not always comfortable to receive, if it's negative, it doesn't feel good, but it's still incredibly valuable because now I can use that data to set my next improvement goal. For example, a good friend of mine once told me I paced too much while speaking. And ironically, I was doing it on purpose because I read somewhere that it's a really good way of keeping people engaged. But I didn't realize that it was a little excessive. So I really appreciated her telling me that. And in my next workshop, I made it a goal to find a better balance. The key takeaway here is that even when you expose yourself to potential criticism, you do so with intention, and intention for empowerment and not for self-loathing. You're still in control, using feedback as a tool for growth rather than allowing it to define your success. And that way you stay in a position of strength and power. Now, these 3 building blocks have really helped me. I'm still practicing every single day, so I'm on the road with you. But from my own experience, I know that if you follow these 3 principles, so first of all, building self-trust through taking your own word really seriously and keeping your promises to yourself. And then secondly, working in the shadows, meaning having some goals that are only set for yourself, where you're the only one who can validate your progress. And lastly, measuring progress by your own standards. By defining your own levels of success, you'll naturally shift towards self-validation, and with that comes more confidence, more self-worth, and a deeper sense of connection with yourself. You'll still appreciate external validation. I mean, who doesn't want to be praised or hear that they did something well? So of course, own it and take it. But the difference is you don't solely depend on that anymore. And that's exactly where you want to be. So I encourage you to take at least one of these ideas and put it into practice this month. Pick a goal that's just for you. Take your own word very seriously, or take a goal and define the steps of success in your terms. Do that consistently. If you fall off the horse, just get back on again and keep going. Eventually, you will get to experience the certainty and self-reliance that comes from self-validation. Thanks for tuning in again. If you found this episode valuable, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so just drop a comment or share your experience in the comment section below. Please share it with those who might find this helpful too. Give it a like if you liked it, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It will really help me to grow my channel, and I will appreciate you forever and always. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and until next time, stay powered by progress. Bye.